You are now tuned into Flipping the Birds, a Philly Sports Network podcast.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome one, welcome all to another episode of Flipping the Birds.
He's into the end zone. Touchdown, Eagles.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome one, welcome all to episode 184 of Flipping the Birds. I'm Brian Cameron alongside Eric Reese. How we feeling, man?
Dude, I'm happy to be wrong. I'll start with that, and then we'll get to it later, but I'm just happy to be wrong. And also, thank our God, Sean Desai.
Well, a lot of people are happy that you were wrong. Actually, it continues the trend, right? It's continuing the trend.
I've heard.
What is the opposite of a good luck charm? Like, I feel like that's what we need to brand.
I am an opposite. That's me.
Is it a me luck charm?
Yeah, it's a me luck charm. No, look, Jay. I actually DM'd Jay Fizzle immediately. I think it was even before. No, I think it was actually when I put up my prediction right underneath your video on our Twitter, and it was a matter of just look. I had no reason to believe that all of a sudden the Eagles were going to stop, a passing attack over to the middle of the field like that. They held, I think the stat was Tyreek Hill to 8 yards a catch. I mean, he got his catches in, but it wasn't lethal. So they mitigated. And, I'm kind of, I'm happy that the Eagles offense seemed to get back on track just a little bit, but there were some mistakes. Some glaring mistakes, like the interception for a pick six thrown. Like, what happens if he just doesn't throw?
Which
the ball there?
I feel like that was such a, and I feel like a lot of people came after me about it, but that was definitely a freak. Like in football terms, it was a freak interception. Like, what are the odds that somebody's gonna swat that and it's gonna land in the defender's hands?
Well, so I thought the odds that someone was going to swat that were 100% because there's literally nowhere. Like, if he threw it anywhere forward, it was hitting somebody. So the best option there would have been just to kind of take the sack.
Just hit him in the balls with the football. Like, just what is that? Longest yard, Adam Sandler?
Yeah, I mean, like, clearly handed them a touchdown either way wouldn't have helped me with my prediction. So
that is very true. And to save the Flipping the Birds fans out there, right? I predicted that the Eagles were going to win, not in that kind of fashion. You need to pull up the tape. Yes, I do predict that they're going to win every week. But you need to pull up the tape because I'm very fair. I'm always by 3 points. Always by 3 points. It's my rule of thumb, right? You can pull up the tape. I only got 3. Excuse me. So I'm getting over a little bit of a cold, but yeah, I was forced against my will to move the podcast to 7 p.m. today because apparently it's Red October, even though it's don't know what kind of holiday that is. Apparently,
what do they call the Mets off season right now?
We don't celebrate October, November, December. Like, they don't exist on our calendar. It's just from spring training to September, and that's really it. We don't know what October is. That's not a thing with us.
Do the New York Mets throw parades for catchers reporting?
I beg to differ. I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one. Let's focus on the fact that that Davey put in the chat that the Phillies are choking, which I find mind blowing. And this is not a Phillies podcast, so for us to be segueing this way, I feel like you guys should be doing a lot better. But you know who's not choking? The Philadelphia Eagles did not choke on Sunday Night Football when they defeated the Dolphins 31-17, holding the number one offense in the league to only 10 points. 10 points. Like Eric was alluding before, like the secondary, they showed up without their secret weapon, which we'll segue a little bit later into. But how impressed were you with to see like this group contain Tyreek Hill, contain Jalen Waddle, contain the run? I feel like them against the run was impressive. I think it was only 45 rushing yards allowed. But yeah, how impressed were you to see the Eagles actually just shut down the Dolphins offense?
I expected the rushing game from the Dolphins to be shut down just because of how dominant Philadelphia was pretty much all season long. Um, I know that Miami, I meant this. I mean, when we were talking about how Brian Johnson needed to be the most creative person on the field, I mean, on the sideline, I mean, only because Miami, and I know we're going to talk about their Miami offense first, but they are so creative with running the ball that it's like, yeah, they could probably get one chunk play, and that's maybe it. That didn't happen, and I know who was out for Miami. It was Arcan, right? I think he
Yeah,
was.
Arcane. How do you pronounce the name? Is it Arcane or Arcane?
Really don't know. They just gave it the old college try there and went for it. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, but let's just say 50-50. But he wasn't in the lineup, but Mostert was. So right there, it's like, okay, you could probably figure out some sort of scheme to get him going. Tua still has his arm. Last time I checked, he looked off a beautiful pass to what was it, Tyreek, into the end zone. Just like his college days, they made sure to show that highlight. Um, like every single thing about the Philadelphia Eagles defense surprises me on a weekly basis because now I look on paper and I see this Philadelphia Eagles team. To me, it's the defense that is the most dominant of the two sides of the ball.
Which
Now,
is crazy to think about.
right, because I mean, dang, right now you got Julio Jones on the team. You got AJ Brown, you got Devonta Smith, you have DeAndre Swift, obviously Jalen Hurts. Look at that whole line. Every single time you do the brotherly shove, every other market in the history of sports goes and throws a fit. It's obviously we're talking about an Eagles offense that should be dominant, press their, and just basically moving the ball at their will every single week. But the defense, just like Ron said in the chat here, is keeping the Eagles in games every game. And again, I don't want to go back too far into the history here, but the reason why I had to roll with the defense and say that's still the biggest, the biggest factor on our team this year is I go back to the Jets game and how many opportunities our overpowered offense had the opportunity to move the ball downfield. Yet in the middle of the field, the Eagles got eaten up a little bit in the red zone. They tightened up, and they did it against probably the most lethal offense in the league. So that was
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think what's more impressive is like you alluded to before, right? Coming into the season, you expect it to be an over. I always said, let the offense overpower it so much that the defense could just learn on the fly, right? But it seemed to be the opposite now. Like Sean Desai is a master at his craft from what we're seeing in Philadelphia right now. The guy is working with people who are second stringers, guys who are undrafted free agents, Eli Ricks, Josh Jobe, Mekhi Garner. You have all these no-name guys playing big roles on his defense in crucial moments of these games. And then he's making it work. And it fascinates me that they were able to contain Tyreek Hill without containing him, if that makes sense.
right.
Like they let him get those little weird I guess the curve routes went in the middle of the field, but that was it. And then that one deep pass over James Bradbury, which Terrell Emmons did miss his positioning on that play. So you have Sean Desai just doing a masterclass of how to adapt in the NFL. And we're as Eagles fans, we're not used to seeing that over the last 2 years, right? Jonathan Gannon, that wasn't his expertise. He was more like, I'm going to put my picket fence on this lawn, and if you get through, you can get through it. If you can't, you can't. Sean Desai is literally just playing Tetris out here, and he's making things work on the fly, which is, to me, is genius. But offensively, I mean, after that last turnover, the interception, you saw the Eagles come back on the next drive and just put their foot in the ground and just it seemed like Jalen Hurts was like, okay, no more nonsense. Let's play our game. Let's do what we do best. And they went no huddle on that drive. They ran the ball great. Jalen scrambled great. A lot of great passes on there. AJ Brown tying Calvin Johnson for his fifth game with 125 plus receiving yards. I don't know what to say. Like this offense is doing what it can with what they have right now, but it's scary to know that the ceiling is nowhere near from what they can touch.
And I think that it's worth pointing out, and Jay Fizzle asked a really good question in the chat. What change can the offense coordinator make that'll get the offense to be consistent? I think it's
Hire Flippin the Birds. That's all it is. Just hire us. We'll be right there.
I think that it's clear that we have game breakers like AJ Brown, 125 yards at least for receiving for the last 5 games. So that's obvious that we do have that working. I think once teams start to, I mean, look, right, saying teams will start to adapt to AJ Brown is weird because it's like it's Megatron what he's doing right now. Like no one ever adapted to Megatron,
I saw a
right?
tweet somebody saying they call AJ Brown Mega John.
Yeah, I saw that too. I think it was Iraq. I think it was
Yeah, I think that's who put
yeah.
it out.
Yeah, I do think that was Iraq. But yeah, as far as what can the offensive coordinator do, I think s- I think spreading the ball through the air is probably the one thing that I point to saying I would like to see more of that. I made a point as well, running the socials for Flipping the Birds during the game to point out that on the drive, I think it was the drive where AJ Brown scores a touchdown, kind of earns the extra yards into the end zone. He, Hertz was a lot more decisive with his reads, and he got the ball where it needed to go, and he just looked a lot more confident on that drive. If he can kind of
Mhm.
hone that in for all 3 quarters, 4 quarters. I mean, it needs to be 4 quarters, but if he can hone that in, especially during this murderers row stretch that we have during this season right now, we're going to get a different Jalen Hurts, one that's past the struggles. Maybe we're not talking about Brian Johnson and Jalen Hurts. Maybe we're talking about how the Eagles found it in the last stretch of the regular season. Like
And
that's what I'm hoping for.
And you could definitely feel it, get the sense on the last couple of drives that it was kind of like the offense was like, okay, F it, whatever's working is working, whatever's not working, we're just kidding off the books. And I think you said it right there. Like the key thing to consistency is just do what you do best. Get the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands quick. Get the run game going. I feel like in the past couple of games they've committed to the run, and then they've gone away from it so far that they committed to the pass for the rest of the game. Like you can be balanced in this league. You can run a balanced offense and win. And I think the sooner that Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni understand that, the sooner that Jalen Hurts and company will be better off. But the key thing you said is distribute the ball evenly, right? You saw Dallas Goedert over 70 yards. You saw Devontae
Right.
Smith over 40 yards. AJ Brown, of course, the monster game. You saw DeAndre Swift catch a couple passes. Like as long as you're distributing the ball and just not going so tunnel vision towards AJ Brown, this offense can be elite. Because if there's a game where somehow, some way, some cornerback figures out how to stop AJ Brown, which I highly doubt, you have Devontae Smith, who's not ice cold. You have Dallas Goedert, who's not ice cold. You have Julio Jones, who's not ice cold. Like this offense can pick up anywhere they want if they distribute the ball evenly. Like Jalen Hurts has to be more so of a point guard. You don't have to be the all-star Kobe Bryant version. You just got to be Chris Paul distributing the ball and just going that way.
I will say though, during the game, just kind of watching what part of the rushing attack did take place, I didn't understand the fascination with using Gainwell when Swift was cruising.
Thank
That
you.
that part kind of did get to me, but hey, Gainwell did find the end zone. If Swift found the end zone on that last rush, I would have won my fantasy football week. But who cares about that? So yeah, no, like wait, anyway, no, Gainwell finds the end zone though, and it works out. But do you think that's enough the kind of all right, maybe we're going to feed Gainwell more, like, oh, it worked type of deal.
I hope not because, and it's funny. I forgot who said it on Twitter. But Gainwell, he looks. I mean, the way he's running is like he looks heavier than he actually is. Like there's no
Right.
burst. Last year he had a burst. The year before that he had a very quick burst, and he used to disappear between the offensive line and defensive line, and then just show up out of nowhere, gain all these yards. This season, it's like he's playing the Rashad Penny role, which is so odd because you have Rashad Penny.
Right.
Gainwell to me is not a bruising back, and I feel like that's how he's being used, and it's not helping him, nor is it helping the offense. But on the other hand, Gainwell is a better pass protector than DeAndre Swift, than Boston Scott, than Rashad Penny. Even though, if you look at the highlights on that huge pass from Jalen Hurts to AJ Brown, where AJ Brown caught the pass between two defenders,
Right.
you can see Gainwell look lost. And actually, the reason that Hurts got hit was because Gainwell did not pick up the block on that one. So to me, it's like Kenny Gainwell serves his purpose, but you got to figure out what his purpose is. And his purpose was how they used him in last year's playoffs. He was a receiving back. He was a change of pace guy. They ran a lot of outside runs with him, and now it's just everything seems to be just inside. And I don't know, like I feel like they're using him kind of like they use LeGarrette Blount. It's just weird. He's not built like that.
And I think that if the strength, the key strength to a running back, and I mean, obviously he can move well, and at least he did move well. Out of like in the air, like in passing routes. But I think if one of the main features of a certain running back is pass blocking, then my question is, as a team, why aren't we just inviting one fullback on a roster where you have four running backs? You can have a three-headed monster and still have a fullback that has not every down use, but I mean big packages. Like like
I,
that will help.
I would get
And by
creative
the way, a
and put
fullback would help wonderfully with setting block for Jalen Hurts to run down the field.
absolutely. You could get creative and put somebody at left tackle and put Jordan Mailata at running back, and he'll just be back there to block. I mean, the Eagles' offense is full of creativity, right? That's the perfect way to do it, in my opinion. But yeah, so great game by the Eagles, great win by the Eagles to
Right.
to snip the wings of the Dolphins, right?
Snip the fins at least.
Yeah, there you go, snip the fins. Let's talk about something great that happened on Monday,
I'm
right?
very excited. I was happy to see this.
So stoked about this. I wrote a couple articles about this during the summer, and I was heavy on this train. Kevin Byard was traded to the Eagles for Terrell Edmonds, a 2024 fifth round pick, and a 2024 sixth round pick. If you do not know who Kevin Byard is, you need to do your homework, because for the past 2 seasons, he was PFF's ranked #1 safety in the league. Since 2017, he's had 27 interceptions, and only one player has had more interceptions than him, and that's Xavier Howard, who's had 29. The guy's a stud. I don't care if he's 30 years old. To me, he's still in his prime because Titans didn't use him as well as the weekend, right?
Right.
But this is a huge win for a defense that needs that Swiss Army knife, that can cover in the slot, that could cover a safety, that could be a box safety. He's a huge upgrade over Terrell Edmonds, and no disrespect to Edmonds. Thank you for your time here. But Kevin Byard is here, and I'm so stoked about this move. How are you feeling about it?
I'm obviously happy. Now I just have a few avenues to talk about this happiness. Really is, hey, thanks again, Tennessee Titans, for just basically giving everything away to us. Almost exclusively. That rules. But I do think that the price we paid to get him was like next to nothing. So it's a steal. Like how we did it again. I don't know why, but like again, like I know that the common meme is, why answer the phone when Howie calls? But that's just, dude, he's an elite GM, and this was an elite move. So as far as Byard being on this team, the defensive secondary not only gets an upgrade, but a stellar upgrade. And Desai has already been playing or already been coordinating an incredible scheme with what he had. Imagine that now he has an upgrade. I mean,
Exactly.
I'm looking at this defense and thinking, okay, not only do we have a reputable upgrade on offense of Julio Jones, now we have a reputable one, and one that has a lot more, not a lot more of an impact to the team, and Kevin Byard. This is absolutely a rev up before you make that postseason stretch.
Yeah, and I mean, I know the concern is going to be that he's
Or
30 years old, right?
I was
But
going to say the stretch going into the postseason.
Yeah. But the main thing to keep in mind is that the Eagles want to win now. They just lost
Right.
the Super Bowl last season. They're heavy favorites in the NFC right now. You saw San Francisco lose to the Vikings. You saw the Lions lose to the Ravens. This is the Eagles' time at this very moment, and Kevin Byard is that guy. You had Jim Shorts, who had Malcolm Jenkins. You had Jonathan Gannon, who had C.J. Gardner-Johnson last year. Now, in my opinion, Sean Desai has the best of the trio. Kevin Byard has been a stud since entering the league, and he's going to be great behind James Bradbury and Darius Slay. I also feel like having him back there instills confidence in those two cornerbacks now that where they're feeling like, okay, we have a vet back there. We have an all-pro back there to cover my back. I don't have to worry about getting burned. Let me worry about keeping the guy in line right here. And that could have been the difference in a Tyreek Hill touchdown against the Dolphins. For all we know. And to answer his wrong question, yes, the Eagles have the most wins in the NFC right now. They are the only team that's 6-1. Because the Lions and the 49ers both lost. But yeah, this is a home run move. Now, being that the trade deadline is not here yet, do you feel like Howie has a little bit more, I don't know, tricks up his sleeve? Or do you
I
feel
don't
like this
know.
is kind of like the move and that's it?
I don't know necessarily by tricks. Like I think when I hear trick up my sleeve, or some up someone's sleeve, I think another starter that's going to come in and be like, all right, this is our impact guy. He's going to be a plug and play. We went to go get him because we missed this, and this was a glaring need. Something that technically is a glaring need might be depth along the offensive line. And I think that's somewhere that Howie could be looking. I don't know if he makes a move or as far as a trade or whatever. Yeah, probably not a free agent, but maybe he tries to do something, finagle something to grab more picks. And I think that's probably where you'll see a lot of the concentration in earlier rounds in the upcoming draft and the offensive on the offensive line. But if anything at all happens, I will say this: it's a glaring need, offensive line, specifically tackles.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with that. And I think you make a great point, right? Like the Eagles just traded 2 of their 2024 picks. They didn't have that many picks to begin with. They do have some compensatory picks coming in because of Javon Hargrave, TJ Edwards. But you can see how we offloading a Derek Barnett if possible, right? Who we saw just looks like a shadow of whoever we ever thought he would be after getting laid out so many times against the Dolphins. You can see him doing a flurry of moves just to unload the roster and possibly sign some veterans that are currently free agents. I don't know. It's exciting. Like at beginning of the season, I said I'm not used to having such a stable organization as a fan, right? But you're seeing the stability just grow and grow and grow after a move like trading for Kevin Byard and getting rid of Terrell Edmonds. You're seeing stability grow where now that they're holding on to Rashad Penny for a playoff run. They believe that he can be a huge impact down the stretch, which makes perfect sense because what do players hate in the cold? A bruising running back, and that's exactly what you have. It's just things are going great for the Eagles right now, and they're not even hitting on all cylinders just yet, which is crazy to think of.
Yeah, there's a lot more room for to grow here because of just personnel wise, we have yet to see the new potential of the personnel that's here, and to combine that with I think at times we saw flashes of the clear team that we already had. Just the consistency there is still the only question, but with the upgrades, maybe that comes with, and then we're hitting strides.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. I mean, how do you feel about Hassan Reddick? Before we go to the preview of the next game, right? Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat, and then Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. Like, how do you feel just viewing this defensive line? Just I don't know, like just eat like, oh my god, it's I don't know how to describe it. You have 2 guys who have 5.5 sacks apiece on the edge, and you have Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter who just seem to be wreaking havoc.
No, ironically, I think a lot of people when you ask them about the team, they would probably just point to the offense and say like, "Oh, like that's my favorite part to watch right now." And it's definitely away from Swift because I have extensive reason to watch him with fantasy football. The defensive line is by far my favorite thing to watch, and I think there's a little bit of a bias to it. Like maybe I'm expecting the success to just come from Jalen Hurts and just to come from the wide receivers in general. But then again, I should expect that to be the staple of the defensive line. And just knowing that the youth that you just brought up and the revitalization of some of those vets that are like that they look like they found the fountain of youth in some ways in some of these games. It's just been a ton of fun to see especially geez, right in the middle there, Fletcher Cox. Like Fletcher Cox, his ability to just kind of step up and make plays along that defensive middle, like not only just on the run with Jordan Davis, but in the past still. Like he's putting pressure, and Josh Sweat is a freak of nature. And it's something that we're seeing come into play now. Like these are the young guys that are taking that step forward. Um, and I know, like Ron said, Brandon Graham is looking at a great this year, very quiet. I I don't think my thing about the very quiet part of that is I don't think he's completely invisible either. Nobody on that defensive line is invisible. I mean, they might not be getting these stats, but I mean, quarterbacks are understanding that they don't have a lot of time to throw. They better make the right read. Now, on the flip side of that, while I always thought the defensive line was doing the work and doing their job correctly, while they make the first read, and now it's on as you get into the layers, the linebackers and the corners and the safeties, now it's on them for the first read to not be readily available almost 80% of the time. Sometimes it feels like that,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you go back in. Weeks ago, it was more so that it was especially with like a Sam Howell. Like I'm still baffled by what I saw against the Eagles and then what I saw this weekend against the Giants.
Yeah,
That
I
that
completely agree
should
with that.
that should just not be a thing. So yeah, I'm hoping combined. My favorite part of the defense, the defensive line, gets a little bit of help with the secondary, and now quarterbacks actually feel what Philadelphia defense is.
It's gonna be fun. I think that's
Yep.
the only way to describe it, right? Like this defense is getting scarier for opposing offenses, but it's definitely gonna be fun to see a safety like Kevin Byard back there. It's gonna be even more fun once Bradley Roby gets healthy, Reed Blankenship gets healthy. Like once these guys are all hitting on all cylinders, it's gonna be a hell of a ride. I think that's the best way to really explain it.
One of the things before we go on is
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I let you know how I play Madden. I always just like do the fantasy teams, and then I just like kind of build like my team from the line out because again I'm a big defensive lineman, kind of guy in the video games is too. But and this has nothing to do obviously with this season except for the fact that before we got Bradley Roby on the actual team, I for whatever reason he was made available to me as a guy I needed to pick up for depth. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll pick up Bradley Roby. Then it happens. I'm like, wait a minute, is Howie tapped in to my game? Like, what's going on here? So it was it
Isn't
was
that
a
a
funny
crazy
moment to
feeling?
see him in.
And that's a crazy feeling because I was talking to my wife about it. And I'm like, I wrote an AJ Brown article before they traded for AJ Brown, and then they traded for AJ Brown. I wrote an article or two on Kevin Byard, and then they traded for him. I'm like, somebody's paying attention to us over there and the Eagles organization. But it's definitely a good time to be an Eagles fan.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that it wasn't just a pickup that was just like there for depth. Like he made an impact immediately.
Hmm.
That Roby um does like he's a clear upgrade. That even just that defense looked a lot more cohesive with him on the field. Despite us winning games before he got there, he just feels more comfortable with him there. So yeah, Roby was a heck of a find.
Yeah, and I mean to hold Cooper Cup down in your first game with the Eagles it's phenomenal. So before we preview the next game, just to let you guys know this podcast is brought to you by La Terrain Watches. Make sure you go to laterrain.com to use code WatchFTB. Holidays are coming up. It's time to get stylish. It's time to get some little silver, little gold on your wrist, and just look good for the holiday parties. That's gonna be code WatchFTB at laterrain.com. Commanders.
It can't be the same. It
You
can't
just
be the
it's
same.
funny you just said that too. Like you're like
It
they
can't be the same. Like from what I just saw, right? And between both teams, by the way, from what I just saw, the Eagles, do what they did to the Dolphins. And then the Commanders looking like they did against honestly, if there's any Giants fans that happen to hear this, maybe you should consider benching Daniel Jones and starting Tyrod Taylor for good. But from what I
please,
just
it'll
saw,
help Darren Waller in my fantasy team. Keep going,
yeah,
please.
I got rid of him because of Daniel Jones.
Can so can I put a little fantasy tidbit? And it sucks that Zach's not here because I was gonna give it to Zach today. But Sunday morning, and I'm gonna catch you up to speed because that's
Oh,
what.
yeah, this is the part I didn't understand in our
All
chat.
right.
Go ahead.
So Sunday morning, Zach texted me a picture of the predictions for the fantasy matchup. His team was predicted to beat my team 156 to like 109 or something like that, or 104. So there was a lot of trades pending. I was getting Jonathan Taylor, I was getting Josh Downs, I was getting Darren Waller, Drake London. And for some reason, Chris overrode all the trades and pushed them all through. And Zach wasn't expecting that. So I got all these players to start for me, and I ended up not blowing them out. I beat them 149 to 139, which is why I pick on Zach about me being an overachiever now.
I see. Okay, so I didn't know. So now that sounds a lot. Dang, he got screwed.
Yeah, and he's the one that traded me Josh Downs. It's funny. He traded Josh Downs. He's like, you weren't supposed to have him today. I was like, it wasn't me. I had nothing to do with it.
Here's the thing, though, and I will play devil's advocate to Chris. If you make a trade, in my mind, that player's on the other team now. So and in my mind, that trade was executed, boom, done. It's fantasy football. It should be ready to go by the moment that it happens.
And that's what Chris said.
That's what so I do kind of see exactly what he's talking about, but I see Zach's point too, because by the rest of the week so far, it was processed as so. So he did get he did get duped hard this week. So
he lost to the Hakuna Matata's.
And the funny thing is, all the people you guys are talking about, like Waller and Downs, I'm like, oh yeah, I had them on my team. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Once upon a time.
I forgot I did draft well and then blow it apart for a first round pick. Oh man. Anyway.
Life comes at you fast.
Enough of that. It just this Commanders game cannot be the same from base what I saw. And with that being said, I do think, again, I'm going to kind of repeat what I said before earlier this year. McLaurin's going to get his. Mm-hmm. It just happens. He did before. But I do not see this game going to overtime. I can't see this game being as close as everyone thinks. I know Brian's going to eventually pick the Eagles by 3. But I do think that Philadelphia wins by at least more than 10. That's my early prediction. I'll find a final score when we do the predictions. But okay. I just this has to be where the measuring stick comes into play. It has to be.
Here's my issue, right? And this is something that we've experienced as Eagles fans and Eagles analysts for years. For some weird reason, the Philadelphia Eagles always play down to their competition. For some weird freaking reason, they always play down to their competition. And it irritates me. It drives me absolutely nuts. And I hate it because I hate when the Eagles play Washington. When they were the Redskins, when they're the Commanders, and whatever the hell to be in the next season. I hate it because it's always a battle, and it's never like us playing the Giants where we blow them out, or us playing the Cowboys where either we blow them out or they blow us out. No, yeah. With Washington, it's always a game of inches, and it drives me freaking nuts. So this is what I'm going to say. The Eagles are going to play better this week. They're going to play exactly how they played the Dolphins because you held a speedster like Tyreek Hill down. And without a safety like Kevin Byard, you can hold the Terry McLaurin down. There's no reason why. Forgive me for saying his first name wrong. Johan Dotson. There's no reason why he should have a breakout game, or Curtis Samuel should have a breakout game. No. You held down the number one offense in the league just on Sunday night. You can do so again, holding down the Commanders at 1 p.m. on Sunday. You can do it. It's very, very possible. But my issue is going to be, what does the offense bring to the table? We're not even worried about the defense anymore. What is the offense going to bring to the table? Are you going to run the ball for 6-7 times in a row, and then I know we're like, oh no, I'm done running. Let me pass it for another 20 times. It's all about balance. If you could bring balance to the table, the Eagles are going to beat the Commanders by a landslide. If you can't bring balance, and if you're turning the ball over, let's be honest. If a team that turns the ball over more than 2 times should lose the game. They should absolutely lose the game. Somehow, some of the Eagles ended up beating the Dolphins, even with turning over the ball 2 times. Contain the ball, contain the opposing team's offense, and just let your offense run. Let your offense do what it does best. Call a couple of run plays in a row, then go to the pass, play action. Get a little freaky. Just have fun out there. That's what you guys did against the Dolphins in the beautiful Kelly green jerseys, which were phenomenal to see on Sunday night. Those things are beautiful.
I know everybody likes the midnight green and whatnot, but
Not anymore.
Let's go full Kelly. I'm ready
Just
for it.
imagine a Kelly on the white. Oh my gosh.
I bought the white Kelly. I mean, so now I have the Kelsey and the Cunningham. Now we're rolling. We're rolling.
Oh my God, Eric is setting himself up for the future. That's forward thinking. That's what the Eagles need to do this Sunday, and it's what they need to do for next season. And just go full Kelly Green. But I will say I have the Eagles winning. I have the Eagles.
No, it makes sense though.
I have the Eagles winning 33-14. I think the defense shows up.
It's not by 3.
No, I think the defense shows up. I think there's a lot of energy on defense now with Kevin Byard. I think Sean Desai is going to have a lot of fun with his new Swiss Army knife. I think the offense shows up, and I think we see a more consistent game, a more balanced game. And I think that's going to be the theme of the week, right? Find your balance, and you'll win.
Yeah, I think between the middle of the field, I'm pretty confident in the Eagles, even with, and I'll extend this out to kicking with Jake Elliott. I think the part that I'm most furious because I'm frustrated is the red zone, and I extend that out to Jake Elliott. As long as there's no missed opportunities, whether it's 3 points, whether it's a touchdown and an extra point, as long as there's no missed points and points left on the table, when you get into that 20, I mean, all the other chunk plays outside of there that will get you the points, hey, fantastic, we'll have at it. But that is the most important part of the field, and that's where the Eagles struggle. So if they can kind of instill that faith that all of a sudden they know how to scheme and be undeniable within the 10 yards. And if that means he had to brotherly shove 3 times, so be it. All I want to see is just conversions. I would like perfection, clearly, duh. But I would like to also see 75% conversion rate, 3 out of 4 at least. I can understand, I mean, I hate to see it, but I can understand a turnover. I think one will happen. It's not like Washington has a soft defense. They've never really had one to be a soft defense. But as far as the offense is concerned, and that's the one thing that we're leaning on as a kind of a concern headed into this game, it's the red zone stuff. As soon as they clean that up, though, this is just like the Eagles are. I think make a pretty easy win out of it. They can just come out firing and stay consistent in the between the 20s, and that actually extends out to the defense as well. But I think Desai has done a fantastic job with that.
So you have the Eagles losing, is what you're telling me?
No, I think those are the keys to a Eagles win by 13. So I'll go 30-17. I think that ends up being 13 to 30-17. Eagles. That's right. Redskins win, guys.
He said Redskin, boys. He said Redskin.
Yep, the
boys and girls.
Win. The Commanders don't win. See how I'm glad you caught on, Brian, because I had to flip the script on that.
You know who doesn't win? The damn Philadelphia Sixers.
Oh my God! You know who does win?
Their owner.
You know who does win? Hold on. I understand where you're going with the owner, but you know who does win? Have you guys checked the NHL standings yet? The Flyers win. Anyway, go ahead. Keep going. Keep going.
I don't know. I don't know what I was gonna say. I was gonna say that the Sixers don't win because their owner is too focused on the Washington Commanders / name to be determined / New Jersey Devils.
Yeah.
How do you own 3 different sports teams in 3 rival states? I feel like that's really illegal. That should not be a thing.
Money is what happens. I guess. I guess that's something. Hey, you can make all the money in the world and still, not, I guess, try to shake Joe Buck's hand and it looks weird. Did you know that?
I did catch that. I definitely catch that. I mean, Joe Buck was clearly just talking with his hands, and Josh was like,
yeah. So you can have every dime in the history of Earth and still not accurately or appropriately shake a man's hand. I learned that this NFL season. That was a part of the script. Right before the Taylor Swift part, that was a part of the script.
All right, can NFL? Can we stop with the Taylor Swift stuff, please? I don't need to be scrolling on my timeline to see Taylor Swift on NFL Instagram.
We can because we have about a week until it's just completely ruined for about 7 days.
Oh my
Right?
God.
Is that what it is? Or maybe it's like a little bit more. Maybe it's more than a week until Kansas City.
It's about 2 weeks. No,
2 weeks?
we
Okay.
have it's Commanders, the Commanders,
Dallas,
Cowboys.
maybe? Okay.
Yes, Commanders, Cowboys, bye week, Kansas City.
So yeah, that's it. Make all of your money, awkwardly shake hands, Taylor Swift, NFL script. Probably an Eagles Super Bowl on there. I don't know. I didn't read to the end yet, but if I wrote it, that's how it would finish.
I'm pretty
No
sure
matter
that
how many times you guys tell me the Eagles lose, you guys tell me that. I don't say it. I got receipts here.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, my translation through my headphones right now, in your language, is saying you're saying the Eagles are losing. I don't know what it is. Could be something on your end. I'm not sure.
This is the least amount of effort I've ever put into something, and all of a sudden I have a new language, which is that rules. That rules. I didn't know I was doing anything different, but apparently
Reese-ish.
Oh God.
Oh,
but yeah,
God.
so yeah, that's 1-1 this week as far as even though it's 2-0, it's 1-1. That's as usual. Zach can't be here to bounce out in the favor.
Apparently not, but definitely shout out to Zach, who's actually handling something personal. So
absolutely,
our thoughts are with you. Morgan should be back soon. His team made it to the playoffs, even though we all stood on the sidelines trying to distract their team in Canada. Yes, Eric, I, and Zach smuggled our way into Canada, rooted for the opposing team to win, and still lost. But we made it back in time for the Dolphins to lose.
Was it cold?
It's cold everywhere. I go bald.
That's fair. That's fair.
Shout out to my wife though. I told my wife today. I looked at her. I'm like, listen, it's getting cold. I need a Scully. I need a hat on my head. Got a fresh Eagles one coming on the way. I can't wait. But yeah, that's my little tidbit.
I'm just excited. I'm just excited for this weekend, as far as I want to see against an opponent, like a divisional opponent. They've faced already. It's just nice to get an idea of what they've improved on, or what needs work before you go against like Dallas for the first time. Dallas week is always, as far as everybody likes to say, it's whoever's Super Bowl, right? Is that the term?
Yeah.
Our Super Bowl happens to be the Super Bowl. But during the regular season, the most important game is always Dallas. So heading into that, I just want to see where our team is. And Sunday is going to be at 1:00. It's going to be a big just exclamation point on this is what you are headed into the true test of the schedule. So I think that's part of the reason why I'm very excited about this week and what there is to offer. But again, Eagles win. It's the Redskins that lose. See, I flipped it again.
I respect it. You're flipping the bird.
I'm trying to have anybody pay attention. So you hear me say I win, or not I win. Eagles win. But I, no matter what, no matter which way I say it, guys, you guys are always going to flip it on me.
That's what flipping the birds is, baby. That's what we do here.
Flipping the scores.
Flipping the scores. Flipping the words. But yeah, a little bit of a short episode today, guys. Just want to give you our gist of everything. We'll be back next Tuesday, and until then, good luck, Phillies. And I sincerely mean that. I've told you guys many times, I enjoy watching the Phillies play in the playoffs because there's no fan base like Philadelphia. I don't care what anybody says. Philadelphia will show up for you even for your funeral, and you have to respect that. So I'm rooting for you guys to win, game 7. Sixers, I lost interest in basketball because of the Sixers. Shout out to Allen Iverson, I miss you. Aaron McKee, I miss you. Eric Snow, I definitely miss you, man.
Eric Snow.
You remember that, right?
Okay.
I don't watch hockey. I'm sorry, Eric, but my best go-to hockey guy is Eric. So shout out to the Flyers.
It's just like everyone else. You don't watch it, so I watch it for you.
There we go. But yeah, I mean, until next week, I'm Brian Cameron alongside Eric Reese. I got the Birds winning. Eric has them losing. You know how it is.
Never said that.
We'll see you guys next week. Yes, sir.
Flip.